Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. This is a B1 level grammar lesson. Today we're going to be learning the second conditional. So what do you think of these statements? 2 years ago, I found a wallet in the street. I handed it in at the police station. A few years ago, I found $200 on the ground at the bus stop. I kept it and I bought a new watch. Last year, I found a handbag in the parking lot. Inside the bag, I found an ID card. I met the owner and returned the bag. So, do you agree or disagree with these points of view? When I go to the supermarket, I sometimes park my car in a no parking zone. I usually do it when I just need to get one or two things from the store. I think if you just need a couple of items, it's okay to park in the no parking area. So do you agree or disagree with that? I usually drive faster than the speed limit, especially outside the city. When there are only a few cars on the road, 60 miles per hour is not dangerous. I stream and download movies illegally every now and then. The film companies make a lot of money, so it's not really a problem. So do you agree or disagree with those and why? So now give your opinion about each behavior. Is it wrong? And if so, why? You arrive home from the supermarket. You discover that you didn't pay for the 2 pounds of cheese in your bag. You decide to keep the cheese and not pay for it. You stay at a hotel for 5 nights. When you leave, the hotel charges you for 3 nights. You pay for 3 nights and say nothing. You are going to dinner at a colleague's house. On the way, your best friend calls and tells you that he has a ticket for a basketball match starting in 2 hours. You call your colleague and tell her that you are feeling unwell and cannot come to dinner. All right, a company surveyed 3,000 people, and the company asked the following questions. What would you do if you were taking money out of an ATM and it gave you $100 too much? So look at the four different responses, and in your opinion, which response was the most common and why? I would think about it for a while, then I would go into the bank and give back the money. I would keep it, but I would feel guilty and worried. I would spend it as quickly as possible before the bank asked for it back. I would go into the bank right away and explain the mistake. So what would you do? All right, look at the question again and and the responses from the survey. So 40% said I would spend it as quickly as possible before the bank asked for it back. 35% said I would keep it, but I would feel guilty and worried. 15% said I would think about it for a while, but then I would go into the bank and give the money back. And only 10% said I would go into the bank right away and explain the mistake. So the second conditional is talking about an unlikely future. We use the second conditional when we imagine a situation and result in the future that is unlikely, unreal, or impossible. So if I found a wallet in the street, I would take it to the police station. I would take a wallet to the police if I found it in the street. In the example, the speaker thinks it is unlikely that he would find a wallet in the street. So which tense is used in the if clause? So if I found, that would be simple past. And which tense is used in the result clause? I would take. So would is a modal verb and take is simple present. So look carefully at how we form a second conditional. So we have the if clause in the past simple, and then the result clause we would use would, wouldn't, could, or couldn't with the simple present form of the main verb. So if I found a wallet, I would hand it in at a police station. If she won the lottery, she wouldn't work. If Alex studied harder, he could find a better job. So now we're going to compare the first and second conditionals. It is important to think about how the speaker perceives the situation. Both the first and second conditional relate to the future. We use the first conditional for a possible situation, while we use the second conditional for an unlikely, unreal, or impossible situation. If it is sunny tomorrow, I'll go to the beach. I'll meet you for lunch tomorrow if I have time. So he thinks that both of those situations are possible. If I had a lot of money, I would stop working. If I didn't have a TV, I would read more books. So she says, I am imagining these situations. One is unlikely and the other is impossible. So now you're going to match the two halves to make a complete second conditional. So you can pause the video, try this on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. If you didn't talk so much, you would finish your work faster. If I won a lot of money, I would buy a large apartment in London. If they studied harder, they would get better grades on their exams. If I went to bed earlier, I wouldn't be tired every morning. And if she ate breakfast, she wouldn't be hungry at 10 a.m. Now you're going to complete the second conditionals using the verbs in brackets. Again, you can pause the video and try these on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. So number one, if you went to bed earlier, you would have more energy. If he read the article one more time, he would understand it better. If the children stopped wasting time, they would finish their homework. If Thomas ate healthy food, he wouldn't be sick so often. If we had a meeting at 5 p.m., we would have a coffee together, or probably could have. We could have a coffee together at the cafe. If you travel by bus to the office, you wouldn't need a car. All right, so here are two more questions that were asked in the survey. And so look at the responses and determine what would you do. So what would you do? Oh, we did this one. What would you do if you found a wallet in the street? 45% said I would check to see what was in it. If I could see who it belonged to, I would contact the person. 35% said I would take it to the nearest police station right away. 15% said I would look inside it. If there was any money, I would keep it and then throw the wallet away. And 5% said I would ask the people in the street if it belonged to any of them. What would you do if you hated the present your boyfriend or girlfriend gave you for your birthday? 55% said I would say it was great and give him or her a kiss. 25% said I would thank him or her and then sell it online. 15% said I would ask him or her if he or she had the receipt, and 5% said I would end the relationship. So a dilemma is a problem that doesn't have an easy solution. It's sometimes difficult to make a choice. So go ahead and read this text and then answer the questions. You can pause the video and do this on your own, or you can follow along as I read. I'm terrible at chemistry, and last week we received the results of our final exam. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw that my grade was an A. When I looked through the paper, I discovered that the mark was wrong. Although it said A on the front page, there were a lot of mistakes. I was very upset, but I knew immediately what I had to do. I went over to the teacher and explained the situation. She was very embarrassed and she apologized for the mistake. Then she changed my grade to a C, but it was okay. It's not right to take credit for something you didn't do. So, why is this a dilemma? Well, he could have just said nothing and accepted the A, uh, but that would have been wrong to do. And would you do the same thing? Would you tell the teacher about the mistake or would you just take the A? Here's another one. What would you do if the cashier gave you too much money? A few months ago, I was buying some sheets and pillows at a local store. I decided to pay with cash, which I realized is unusual these days. It caused problems because the cashier didn't have enough change. It took quite a while to sort the situation out, and when she eventually gave me the change, I realized that there was too much. I didn't want the cashier to get into trouble, so I gave her back the extra money. It just felt like the right thing to do. All right, so in a second conditional, we often use were instead of was in the if clause. So we often use were instead of was when talking about an impossible situation. If I were a bird, I would fly all around the world. If I were an astronaut, I could travel into space. To give advice, we often use a second conditional with the if clause, if I were you. I have to work again on Saturday and Sunday. I am so tired. If I were you, I'd look for a new job. Today, many people use was in everyday informal English. If I was in New York, I would come with you to the party. If I was you, I'd find a new housemate. But many people would still consider this incorrect English. It it sounds wrong, even though technically it's acceptable to use was, especially in informal situations. If you do this, there are some people who will think you're making a mistake. Okay, Remy describes an issue in her office. Read the text and then discuss it. I work in an office. A lot of my coworkers seem to think that the office stationery and supplies are for their own personal use. They take home piles of pens, paper clips, and sticky notes, and some of them even take paper and envelopes. The other day, I saw one woman helping herself to some colored cardboard for her son's school project. What nerve! In my opinion, the office supplies belong to the company, and stealing them is wrong. So if you were Remy, would you speak to the woman who took the cardboard? And if you were Remy, would you talk to someone about this issue? All right, your friend says the following things, so give some advice starting if I were you. So she says, I've gained 10 pounds in a year. So you might say, if I were you, I would try to eat healthier, or I would join a gym, I would exercise more. So try to come up with some other pieces of advice for the rest of these other situations. All right, so now look at each dilemma and explain what you would do and why you would do it. While walking to work, you find a lost dog in the street, and you are at the store. In front of you are a parent and a child. The child steals a bar of chocolates. What would you do in each of these situations? You have lunch with 5 friends. You split the bill and each person pays $38. When the waiter returns with the change, one person takes all of it. And your friends invite you to a pizza and film night at their house. They have illegally downloaded 2 new Hollywood movies to watch. So, what would you do in those situations and why would you do it? And that brings us to the end of today's video. Please like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.